A very good evening to all of you. Today we are going to discuss an opinion question. So this is an opinion question where we have a statement part, and the statement part is marked here in blue, and the question part is marked here in green. So the statement part says like this: although the position of women in the society today has improved, there is a great deal of sexual discrimination. Do you agree or disagree to the statement? So that's the the statement followed by the question. So when we understand the statement, we do have a crucial connective here, and that is although. So although is the connective here. So it connects one portion, and the portion is the position of women in the society today has improved. The second portion is there is a great deal of sexual discrimination, both at the same time. The time frame is today, and today women face a great deal of sexual discrimination. The same time, it has to be acknowledged that they are enjoying a higher status in the society. This is what the two parts of the same coin. At the same time, simultaneously, we need to acknowledge the two contradictory facts. The first factor is that they are enjoying greater improvements in different fields. The same time, the other side of the coin, we have to say that there is a great deal of sexual discrimination they are facing right now, even in this particular century. So do you agree to this thing? So I have to say an opinion, a very clear opinion in the introduction and in the conclusion. So I have, because it's an opinion question, I have to say that I have to say the opinion in the introduction. At the same time, I have to rewrap it in the conclusion. So I need to explain the conclusion in the body paragraphs too. So let's go ahead with the introduction of this particular question. So this is the introduction. Let's mark the introduction in blue. Despite visible improvements in the status of modern women, it is argued that they still face a great deal of gender discrimination. Now we have visible improvements in the status of modern women. It is argued that they still face a great deal of gender discrimination. Now we have a great deal of gender discrimination. So what we have stated in the question, statement part of the question is still there, and the introduction. And if you see the opinion, this is the clear-cut opinion. If analyzed critically, this is true to a greater extent. So this is true to a greater extent. So we have to say that this is true. I'm not telling that this is true to a full extent. I cannot say that this is true to a full extent. I have to say this is true to a greater extent. If I want to say I agree to a full extent, I have to modify the paragraphs which are written. So it's true to a greater extent. So I don't have a clear-cut strong opinion. I have to say that to a greater extent. So the extent of my agreement is greater, nearly 100%, 80% or 85% or 90% maybe. So let's go with the first paragraph. Why you have agreed that the position of the women in the society has improved. So we have the position of the society, the position of the women in the society has improved. This is to be proven. Now, I have the first paragraph to prove that. Let's mark in, yeah. Unlike the past, today's women are recognized and are given dignity in the society. Now, we have to say that women in the society today the status has improved. So we have to say it's different from the past. We had a different situation in the past. Right now we have a greater dignity for women. We have a greater recognition for women. And this was a dream in the past. So we don't need to explain it further. What were there in the past? We need to focus on today. What is there at present? They are now seen in public, presiding key social gatherings and organizing mass events. Now I have explained what has happened to the women today. In case of economic status too, women of today enjoy a multitude of privileges, and in many cases they have turned out to be the sole breadwinners of their family. Now I have the second particular point, and here I'll mark it in yellow. So in case of financial status, in case of economic status, they are enjoying a great deal of financial independence today. And in many cases, they are the sole breadwinners of their families. Now let's go ahead with the third particular instance. We were discussing the social status, the second economic status, the third education and employment status. In case of education and employment status too, women now have notable representation. We have a very tangible representation for women. For example, there are considerable proportions of highly qualified women in many job sectors, and in some cases companies are run by women. Here are the commas. And in some cases companies are run by women. Now we have the situation how the status of modern women has changed tremendously or dramatically, and that's what we have presented in the first particular paragraph. Turning to the second particular paragraph, we are going to say what is seen on the other side. So what is seen on the other side? On the other side of the same coin, you can see a brighter side. On one side, we have seen tremendous changes in the status of women, in the social status, economic status, educational status, employment status. We have seen tremendous changes. But when we see the darker side, it's a bitter truth that enough representation of women is in the influential fields is still miles away. No, we have to go miles ahead to reach the goal. You women have not got enough representation in influential fields. Whether in the field of employment, yes, education, yes, administration, whatever it may be, women are still inferior to men in both in case of number and influence. So in case of influence or in case of the number, women's representation in key positions of employment, key positions of education, key positions of administration, it still has not reached its number, and they don't have a notable influence in these fields. For instance, in many parts of the world, higher education is discouraged among girls, and low wages are distributed among women when compared to men. Now we have a great deal of discrimination. I am presenting the extent of the exploitation of women when compared to men, and this is what we have presented here. In many parts of the world, higher education is discouraged among women. You know, in many parts of Orthodox societies where where in many geographical areas where they practice orthodox culture or certain religious culture, they don't encourage women to study. And even if they allow to study, it is to a smaller level, to a lower level, and they won't send girls to the university, or they don't want women to be getting educated, or they don't want them to hold higher positions. And this is some sorts of orthodox mentality in some of the areas. Even today, this is a bitter truth. This is what we have said. Even in women-dominated work fields, men are still decorating the superior positions. Now that we have women-dominated work positions in case of education, in case of nursing services, in case of primary education. So we have, even in these cases, in superior positions, we do have males decorating the positions. You can see males decorating these positions, the head positions, the core positions are held by the men. And this is what the truth is. And after analyzing these two paragraphs, I will be making a thesis. I am making an editing in the thesis. If analyzed critically, this is true to a greater extent. So if I want to say greater extent, I have to agree. I have agreed this thing. So I think we have agreed to almost a full extent. So I've analyzed critically. I feel if analyzed critically, I feel the situation is completely true. So I made the editing. So I have said that this is completely true to the full extent. I agreed. Women they have rose to a level which they can stand up with pride. There are women pilots, there are women entrepreneurs, there are women political leaders, there are women presidents, prime ministers. But at the same time, majority of the women today are facing sexual discrimination in case of employment, in case of education, in case of wages. So this is what the utter truth is. This is what the bitter truth is, what we have said. To conclude, in spite of enjoying a much remarkable improvements in socioeconomic status, it is a reality that women in this tech-savvy world still face serious discrimination, even in the fields they are the majority. So this is the truth. It's a reality that women in this tech-savvy world still face serious discrimination. Even in this 21st century, even in this tech-savvy world, women face serious discrimination. At the same time, we need to acknowledge that much remarkable improvements are there in the socioeconomic status of women. And this is what the explanation is. Now we have around 255 words. We have written it 255 words to conclude this particular essay. Hope you must have understood it. Thank you.